This episode of the podcast contains highly political opinions and depression. Listeners who may be sensitive to these elements, please take note. Gotta come up with one eventually.
We have multiple times.
No, it's always used. It's always like, it is a cold open, I guess, because they're always on the spur of the moment.
That's what it means.
This is
Don't
the spur
pre-come up with the cold
of a
open.
moment. Did you say pre-come up?
Yeah, I did.
Dude, I'm gonna pre-come up. Cold open. I think we just found it.
I think we found the cold open. This is Waiting for Seconds, an interview podcast where we meet people, ask them who they are and why they are. I'm Malcolm Kelt, and I'm here with Shannon Miller. And today we'll be interviewing Jeremy Miller. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Miller. I am Shannon Miller's older brother. And I'm glad to be here on Waiting for Seconds.
Well, it's good to have you.
Tell us about your cat. Now.
I want to hear about Ozzy.
My cat. I picked him up at my first apartment. He was meowing right outside, and he was just a wee little kitten. And I walked around with him, trying to find people if maybe they just lost their cat out of a cat box. I don't know how you lose a kitten.
Yeah.
Anyway, didn't find Buddy, and now I am a cat person. Never thought I would be.
He's
You've
a good cat,
become
though.
a cat person. He's a beautiful cat, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's an orange tabby. I don't. He's like I don't know, the basic good cat to have. I mean,
Simple's good.
Yeah, agreed.
And I know this, so I'm going to bring it up because I think it's cool. Ozzy is named after Ozymandias, right?
Yes, the comic book character from Watchmen. Yes, which is also supposed to be a reference to some poetry, and I forget all the nuance to that, but the poetry was really, really good, and I instantly forgot about it and was like, ooh, comic book Watchmen. Everyone's going to think, oh, Ozzy Osbourne. It's like, nah, man, it's Watchmen.
Yeah, Ozymandias by Percy Shelley.
Oh, Percy Shelley, yeah.
It's a good poem.
It's a very good poem.
Cool. Yeah, he's a beautiful cat. And, this is the part where we'd usually say, like, now tell us how you met Shannon, but you met him when he was born.
I met Shannon when I was a wee little lad. So small, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Bro's known me longer than I've known myself.
Bro. He's right.
Bro.
Bro.
Which is crazy, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange. Just the other day, I was on the phone with this friend of mine, and we were looking at my mom's Facebook, and she has a bunch of like old photos that are somehow like digitally uploaded, and they're really bad resolution, but there's photos of me at like my birthday, and there's photos of Shannon and Christmas. It was so strange because like I completely forgot that's what I looked like. It was one of the most surreal things that had happened to me this past month, actually.
Didn't you have a mullet growing up?
It was like a weird bowl cut, yeah.
It was like a
I'm glad I got rid of it though.
Mullet.
I don't think I have the hairline to support that kind of. Who's that character from Despicable Me?
True?
Like Victor something or other.
Oh,
yeah.
Says, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I did not have his bad of a haircut, but it was up there. Jesus, I'm glad that was
I
gone.
can't believe I did a clean take of that on the podcast.
This has gone off on a great start. I'm really happy about this.
Oh,
Yeah, already getting into the weird haircuts. You know,
shit.
I will just state for the record too that Shannon was always like the weird Cabbage Patch Kid of the three of us,
What do you
and
mean?
and everybody liked him because he was the cutest.
Oh,
Yeah.
but what do you mean by Cabbage Patch?
You know, like that derpy fucking smile and that round face. You were just like, "Hi, I'm happy to be here."
Hi, it's me, Cabbage Patch.
The way you make that sounds disgruntled. Like I'm tired of being in the fields. You know how hard I've worked.
Happy. I've
It's
worked
a
these
lot of
fields my whole life.
it's a lot of
Right.
work just being happy here.
Huh?
This cabbage won't grow itself.
Cabbage won't grow itself. I worked hard years in the field.
Yeah. You know, I oh, not I'm kind of moving on from Cabbage Patch, but talking about Malcolm, I'm actually really appreciative that like you do this podcast with Shannon.
I'm happy to do it. It's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's weird because I think I've known you for 5 years now.
That sounds about right.
We met him in. You and I both met him in 2018. We started playing R6, Rainbow Six.
No,
Oh.
I did not play. Well, okay, I played Rainbow Six on the Xbox One. I did not play it with Malcolm. It was. I think that was like the same year you took a break from R6 and kind of never came back.
I did. I met you through your brother Austin.
Right, we did
Who
the
is
D&D thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But we knew each other before that because we were in I don't remember exactly what it was, but a Discord server together. There was just some gaming server that
I
Austin and
don't.
I both happened to join, and he invited you to.
Was that?
Was it Black Cat Gaming?
No, that one was newer.
Oh, what was
That
it?
was a good time.
Was it Austin's like? Oh man, that sounds vaguely familiar, but I could care less to tell you the truth.
Fair enough, yeah.
I actually okay, like when I think of my relationship with you, Malcolm, it's funny. It's like we had this stupid fucking like friendship villain arc and then back to friendship, and it was pretty fun. And I remember the good and the bad times, and it was, I don't know. I'm just really really glad that like I still have a relationship with you.
I am too.
And through this podcast, like
Aw.
we can still talk, because we don't talk often, but when we do, I'm like, yeah, good times.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring that up at some point in the future. But yeah, Jeremy and I had exactly friends to enemies to friends relationship, and it was fun.
It was great. Yeah, at our throats. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, at each other's throats for a good portion of it.
It was just different kinds of different views, and there was just a lot of heat.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it was just very differing political views and both very strong political views.
Yes, it was very at some points it was very Twitter-esque. It was kind of like stupid, and there was some nuance to it that honestly didn't make sense or didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm glad like we didn't necessarily like overcome or talk about those topics. We kind of just were like, fuck it, we're two different people, and we just got along after that.
I think we did have a period. I want to say we had a period where we both kind of sat down and were like, okay, there were problems here. We had a whole fucking dozen arguments, but I don't care to argue with you anymore, and you don't care to argue with me anymore. So let's just be chill about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I know I didn't really express this like pre podcast, but like I'm really glad to be here.
I'm really glad you are.
I'm happy to have you here. Now I got both brothers on there.
Yeah.
Took you long enough.
I know.
You had him like super early on, and then you call
To
me at
be
like
fair, they do live in the same house.
okay, good point. Yeah, I did move out. There's some distance.
There's one wall between the two of them, and a lot more than that between you two.
There's a few hundred miles between you and I.
Lots of dirt, lots of ag.
Lots of dirt.
Speaking of which, how do you like where you live?
I don't.
That
I really don't. Yeah, I mean,
sucks.
you know, it's only gotten bearable these past 5 months because I've actually like gone out and done things, and things have like there's still like that level of stress just moving through life adulting, but like I've been more outgoing, and I've been trying to see more movies, trying to just be with people and have fun and be friendly. Um, and it's actually a lot of the trouble that I've had living here. It's just been, I don't know. There's some compensation there because I've met Melanie, Mabel, Nicole, like 3
Cool
women. I know that
people,
sounds.
and
I haven't. Sorry. Go on.
you've met cool people.
Yes. One of them owns a vintage store
Hell
and
yeah.
has a bunch of cool stuff and so much history. And sometimes I just scratch my brain. I'm like, what is this? And she was like, oh, these are like hooks they used to grab blocks of ice back when they had ice in basements or some shit. And
Hell
it's like
yeah.
going back to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it here only for the people.
hmm
The people have been good to me, and they've helped me a lot through some struggles, but like the geography, it's bad, man. It gets really hot.
Hot and humid.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you. This summer, I'm sure, has been an absolute bitch.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were just peaking hundreds just a few days ago,
Oh,
but
Damn.
God, I
yeah,
couldn't.
and I was on a roof all through
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah, you were saying that.
I was doing
Uh-huh.
aluminum work, working on this guy's eave and gutters and peaks, and oh my gosh, using the aluminum brake, making sure we didn't. Yeah, that's just a whole thing. I don't even want to remember because I'm still like half burnt right now.
Mm,
So
You're
yeah,
layered.
quite quite.
yeah.
I'm like the American flag, just without the nice stars.
All the different colors, the reds, the whites, all on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I actually wore oh the proper terminology are like ranger panties. I had to wear the shortest shorts I've ever had my entire life on that roof, and it still sucked. It was, oh man,
Oh,
you
because
could
it was
barely.
hot.
Yeah, it was horrible,
that
and I felt
sounds
like
bad.
a,
Piece of
it is.
bacon.
Well, when you look like a okay, I'm not gonna say I look like a girl, but
You're just saying you don't want to say like you look like a girl, but
well, I mean, I do. I look like a 15-year-old, like the way like girls dress nowadays, like I don't know, like short shorts and t-shirts, and that's like literally all they wear. That's what I looked like on a roof. And people were giving me strange looks. It's like, well, you come up here and you deal with, you know, unmatched power of the sun beating down on your back and calves and arms and stuff. It just ouch.
and you're working with aluminum foil too, and I'm sure that's 200 degrees.
No, it was white.
Hmm.
So me personally, I had to wear sunglasses because
Oh yeah.
anytime we marked anything on the aluminum, when we put it on the brake, which bends the aluminum in certain ways because it comes in a coiled like box thing.
Uh,
Anyway, you couldn't see anything, and you were constantly blinded because you were looking at like not only it was bad. I kind of want to move on from this conversation. Work sucks. I'm a contractor, by the way. Like,
Gotcha.
I do everything under the sun.
Mm.
Sometimes a little too long.
You crispy bacon boy. But
Yes.
Jeremy, that all sounds like with the heat, you're in a new place generally, and you've been there what, 2 years now?
Mm-hmm. Coming
That,
up on 3, yeah.
dang, that just sounds like super duper anxiety inducing. How do you manage it? How have you been handling things since you moved out, or even before you moved away?
Some good, some bad. Uh, I don't know. It's been stressful. I realized that I was sacrificing a lot of my social life
Mm.
for work, and anytime I was really on the computer, it felt like I could have been doing something more. And that kind of mentality for the first year and yeah, basically the first year has just been a little hard to describe. It was difficult because you have like no solid foundation, no rock. I
Mm.
had my boss, which is my uncle, and he's good as an instructor or as a teacher if you really pay attention and you really apply yourself. And I struggled with that and not having a social life and no real support system for the longest time really didn't like it didn't help. Coping was just like waking up in the morning.
Mm.
Just bare none. You get up, you put your clothes on, and you go in like sub-zero temperatures or over 100-degree weather, and you get bird poop in your face, or you just do like hard work. Um, but this past year has been super super enlightening as far as myself. I've been doing some online dating. Um, and that's something I learned about, like kind of going back about learning something about myself these past few years. Uh, when you first start dating, like real, like taking life seriously, like you really want to find a life partner,
Mhm.
dating is like holding a mirror up to your behavior. And it's
Hmm.
super, super enlightening to know not only what you know about yourself, but what you know about the other person. And, I thought for the longest time that it was basic high school level stuff like, oh, you guys meet, you hang out, eventually things happen, I guess. But nah, dude, it's a lot more nuanced than that. And sometimes you don't like things about yourself. And yeah. Sorry, what was the question again? I got a little lost.
That's okay. It's how do you manage your stress?
People. That was my answer. I did well. That's the answer I kind of was rolling with. People have been really supportive,
Hmm.
especially through some hard times and learning about yourself. And yeah, it's just I've had to really rethink my priorities on how I should view work. Yeah. People have made it easier for me because I can talk to those people and those people can talk to me and give me sound advice, entertainment, or
Hmm.
um, just like a wall to bounce off of.
Mhm.
Like you ask him, okay, am I depressed or is my sun just baking in the heat for too long? Or is my head baking in the sun? Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you take a step back from that work and examine yourself through the lens that others see you with. Understand yourself
Right.
better, and then additionally, from that perspective, you can just take a minute and chill.
Yeah, because a lot of them, well, I would hope a lot of them, weren't like lying about what they were talking about.
Mhm.
Like if I asked them, okay, uh, what do you think about this going on in my life? Well, what's your take? Oh, well, I mean, you could manage your finances better. Okay. Well, not a lot of people like to hear that, but that's certainly something they should know.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of thing I appreciate is that they're not. they're not bothered by telling me the hard stuff. And that typically sends people into, like, maybe a worse depression or, like, a worse social problems, but I kind of crave it.
Mhm.
Uh, kind of like constantly trying to seek what other people view about me, which sounds a little narcissistic. And I don't mean it to be. It's just like when you're trying to discover yourself and like what you like and what you don't like, having someone there talk through it is nice. It's like having therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to reflect on oneself is made a lot easier by looking at oneself through another's eyes.
Mhm. Yeah. That's kind of how I've been coping.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Well, I do have another question for you, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
What is something that you found that you have struggled with more than other people? Whether that's schoolwork or
Um
self-reflection.
insecurity.
Okay.
Uh I have been struggling with a lot of insecurities. Um just about everything that I do feels a little second guessed.
Okay.
I try not to be like that manic over my life, but especially meeting Mabel has really like kind of like brought that out. Um realizing that I have just crazy amounts of insecurities that I never really thought about, that I never really like truly looked at. I just thought, I was a little hesitant, or oh, I guess I just didn't like it in the moment. No, uh, talking to her about like all of my insecurities, I think I have like struggle with that. Like I almost need validation or an attaboy to really like know that I'm doing something right,
Hmm.
which is not which is something I really don't want, but at the same time I kind of need. I don't know if that's like, I don't know where the psychology lies within that or what kind of help that I really need from that. But yeah, that's that's something I've, I guess, been struggling with the most. Realizing that I have insecurities and then moving on from that, because once you know you have insecurities and you're like thinking fourth dimensionally, Marty, you kind of just, you almost triple guess yourself. You're like, okay, am I just being a total
Mm.
spaz? What is the real holdup here? Um,
Is this thing actually a problem? Is my brain just being weird?
Is it
right.
something just somebody said kind of made me think like that? Or is it their
Right.
body actions? Is it their looks? Is
Uh-huh.
it
Yeah. You know, I think for the longest time I didn't want to believe how bad it really was. But then after like like I said, doing some online dating, finding Mabel, um, she was a real person that I could talk to about insecurities, and there'd be whole conversations surrounding that, and it was, I don't know, how do I explain that? She made it known to me that like that I even have the problem.
mm,
She didn't say, "Oh, you just have a lot of insecurities." It was like it was just brought up, kind of like trickled through conversation. It was like, dude, you don't need to overthink that. You can stop. And having someone tell you like, stop thinking that way. It's fine. Everything's fine. Just kind of makes you think more like, okay, if this keeps happening, how bad is this really?
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's kind of what I've been struggling with. I've been getting better about it though, and I've been getting better about like not letting my insecurities totally rule my life.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
that's really good. It shows that you've accepted what your insecurities are.
right. Right. The problem is like recognizing, is this an insecurity? But yeah, yeah, um, yeah.
So with this, these newfound like insights, have you always been maybe pessimistic or maybe optimistic? Are you, I guess what I'm trying to say is, are you more optimistic now than you used to be? And if so, what did that look like when you were growing up, or what did that look like beforehand?
That is a really good question. I think it's almost like evened out. Like there would always be something that kind of like balanced out uh the kind of like pessimism
Mm,
because I don't know, for me it was always it was always um capability, like my capability to figure out a problem or to comprehend and move on with my life, and my pessimism. And they've always been like in flux, and typically like as I've grown up, my capabilities have gotten better, but my pessimism has also gotten kind of worse. A couple of years ago, even Malcolm can kind of attest to like maybe a change as far as like my conversational um, um, like the way I approached political conversations. I don't do it anymore because I'm I'm not as politically charged as I was a couple of years ago, and I've just become more pessimistic, and ultimately I don't believe most of the stuff that I even thought of back then. Like I had all kinds of opinions, but they've mellowed out, and once I kind of gotten my own personal, I guess, like opinion on the topic. I think I said that backwards. I think once I've gained once I've gained more knowledge on that, I became more pessimistic, and I just really didn't believe in the system, and therefore it was not worth arguing about. Wasn't there wasn't really a good talking point anymore.
Hmm.
You can talk about the president today, and I'll just roll my eyes, and I'll say it's only going to get worse. Doesn't matter who it is, because yeah, it's just that's just my opinion. It's slowly kind of going to a more anarcho way of thinking, and I really don't like that. Because when people hear like anarchy, they think of all kinds of like violence and stuff, and it's like I don't know. I just want to have my little cottage on
the
a
big,
hill with my
yeah.
wife and two kids, and I just want to be left alone with an entire array of weapons that are mine. That's just me. That's like the core
No,
belief at this point. It's
that
just
makes
there.
sense.
Yeah.
You
Like.
just want to be left alone on your property
Mhm.
and nobody come and bother you unless you're a friend.
Right.
Is that just that you have like lost faith in the system that is running the country, or is that you've completely changed your viewpoint?
Ooh, good
No,
question.
I've been I don't know. I still kind of have like a side, I guess. I
Uh-huh.
don't want to say that. I don't
Yeah.
how should I say this? I still like believe in certain values and in certain uh I believe that there is a way of life that is correct
Mhm.
for an individual. Nah, yeah, I'm saying that wrong. Where should I start? Yeah, I do. I have my own, I guess, like, I don't know. I believe people should live a certain way, and they're not. So, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question. Can you repeat the question? I think I had a
Uh,
lot more well-rounded. I
That's
just
all
lost
good.
it.
That's all good.
I
Uh,
was effectively asking if you have like lost faith in the systems that you used to believe in, or if it's more like you have just changed your perspective on those systems and are a little bit less maybe believe a little bit less in them, but still have some value. They still have value.
Yes and no. I think yes. I think I have lost faith because the system that historically worked is now not the system anymore. The
Okay.
system that historically worked and that was good and that was at the core of most American values, um, even to this day, are not being held up. Uh, and even if you get a guy um, in office, he is still playing in a system that is not at the core of American values.
Hmm.
So sure, you can get people who say, "Oh yeah, voting is how we change things." It's like, okay, yeah, sure, but that's still the system. That's still like this new system that you know. Sure, you can push a guy through, but it doesn't mean you're going to get anything done. There's no merit to what anybody says anymore as far as like running for political office. Um, except for results. And that's ultimately what I personally look for is that uh you know when you're in, what will you do? And if you do it, then that just means you mean what you say. Doesn't mean if I agree with it or not. It just that's what I look for. I don't
Integrity.
like I said, I don't know. If somebody was elected to office and said, I'm going to do this legislation about firearms, let's say. It's like, okay, well, does he do what he says? Does he mean what he says? Okay. Good, bad, or indifferent. I guess he's now with the system. Good.
You know,
I
I
just,
I, f- I find this answer very interesting because, at least as Jeremy knows, and I think a good portion of the audience probably might as well, I consider myself very far left. And Jeremy, is it fair to say you consider yourself pretty far right?
I'm I'd like to say conservative. I guess in today's political climate, I'm
Oh,
considered, mm, yeah, out there on the right side somewhere. I'm not
we're
gonna be,
we're opposite ends of the scale,
yes,
approximately. Uh,
yes.
I have a lot of those same. I agree with you on most of that. That like the system itself has failed and is no longer working the way that it needs to. And those who operate within the system cannot change it such that it actually will work because they are within the bounds of the system.
Uh, I mean, I disagree with that. I think if somebody really, really wanted to, they could. But I have no faith in that unless they have results. If they can produce results of the change of the system, then then there's something to believe in. Then I've gained faith back.
Mhm.
But it has to, in some ways, go backwards. Have to really streamline, and in my opinion, lots of people need to lose their job. That's that's how you would change something like that system. But yes, you are correct. Once you are a part of it, there may be a slim chance you can, but don't expect me to believe that you can right off the bat because you ran for election and got all this campaign money. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. You're the new name on the block and you'll go away in 4 years. See
And
ya.
those who profit from the system do not care for it to change.
Hmm.
No, they don't.
So yeah, which is kind of funny that we are so far apart and yet agree on this very fundamental piece.
hmm I'm actually, yeah, I didn't want to get into too many specifics because I didn't want to bring up any real political charge between
Mm.
us. But I guess since you brought it
So
up, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we're on the same level because
we're
it's
on the
been
same
like,
page. This is,
right,
yeah, correct.
because like for the past 5 years, me and you would just bicker and can I say bad words?
Yeah. Fucking say
Okay, like,
anything.
okay, cool, because I wasn't sure if I could say uh some real nasty slang. But yeah, me and you have been bitching
Well,
for 5 years, and it's like now we finally like has some camaraderie in terms of how we view the American system.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're like looking for the opposite thing ultimately, but yeah, the system ain't working.
Not
No,
working.
not at all.
And the system wants to stay in place, and that's not good.
No, not not at all. I don't like that one f***ing bit. Not, but okay. See, but that goes back to the pessimism question. Like, as I've gotten to know more about how life actually works and how adulting works,
Mhm.
my pessimism for how the electoral premise of this country works, pessimistic I get, and the more I almost get to a point of like what like internal conflict.
Hmm.
Uh, like am I not being a good participant in this system because I've lost faith, or have I lost faith because I'm not participating?
Hmm.
And it's a weird dichotomy being an adult and voting, and what is it to be an American these days? It's I mean, yeah, it's a little bit out of my hands. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of pessimistic. I'll just answer that question that way.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being in the middle if you were
Uh-huh.
or
Yeah.
Or if it feels better to say that, like, it fluctuates sometimes, and maybe pessimistic in politics and optimistic in people.
I don't think that'll ever change. No, politics and people will always be at the same level.
Mm.
Always. My opinion of either at this very moment is very, very like. I mean, I wouldn't say
people as
like,
a whole, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's just humanity and where we're going. I don't have faith in them either.
Well,
That's fair.
Yeah.
on the topic of people,
Mhm.
this might be kind of a broad question, but generally, do you believe people to be innately good or innately bad?
Bad. Always bad.
Why?
I think we are beings, and this is coming from like a religious
Mhm.
standpoint, um, or a more Judeo-Christian standpoint. But humans are uh, cursed with being evil because we chose to be evil. Uh, but there are also moments of good. And sometimes in one individual's life, the good can outweigh the bad. But we are inherently bad people. It doesn't mean you go through your entire life being a bad person. It just, I guess that's just how sin works.
That
We,
people are motivated by that sin and that greed and selfishness and whatnot?
yeah, and I'm not above that either. I know I have all kinds of wants and needs that were just terrible. Um like one of those things being when I first started dating, I was a real piece of shit.
Mm.
And eventually um I realized how soulless I was being, and how much I didn't care, and how much like I only viewed people as like a means to an end.
Hmm.
I realized, it's not worth the validation. You don't need I don't need to lower myself just to I guess like feel good for a little bit. Oh, we went to the movies, I get to feel good for a little bit. It's like, no. If I'm really not feeling it, I need to be honest with myself, and I need to be
Hmm.
honest with the other person, because their time is invested in me and I'm squandering. Um, and that can be in all kinds of situations. But to answer your question, yes, I think human beings are inherently evil, but we try to do good by each other
Hmm.
because we are people and we know what it's like to do to be, um, I guess like aggressed. Is that a real word? To have aggression and violence
That
towards
feels like a
towards us.
real word.
Aggressed? Yeah.
Like
Like
to aggress,
Yeah.
to aggress.
Attack
sounds like
or
a-
Makes sense.
behave aggressively.
Yeah.
right,
Aggress.
like yeah.
Thanks, Google.
Yeah. Right, Google.
Like yeah, like we know what it means to hurt somebody because somebody has hurt us.
Huh.
And that's where the good should come from. It's like, okay, we know we don't like that and we don't want to do that to other people. But at the same time, there are people who don't choose to recognize that. Like they actively choose to harm other people
Would you
and they
say
know
that
it's wrong.
a lot of goodness in humans is motivated by former pain? That like when we are doing something good, it is largely because we want to. We have experienced the suffering of having someone do something bad to us and want to be better to others. Is that fair?
Yeah. I believe that is the case. I mean, maybe you can make the argument, oh, if a newborn child did some courtesy to somebody else, like that was born out of like a primordial way of goodness. It's like I don't agree with that. I think be, when like there's an innocence period and it tapers off as we grow up
Huh.
because we realize the horrors of reality. So yeah, there is no like true primordial like good. There is a selfishness. Like I don't know. It almost gets into a very like argumentative, very evil, like dark way of looking at humanity. And I honestly don't like really want to go into explaining that in this
That's fair.
podcast. I just yeah,
Yeah.
for me personally, I view everybody by just like politics by the results.
Mhm.
And I try to
Which
live
is fair.
I try to live the best way I can by that. Um but at the same time I have biases and I
Yeah.
like other people more than others and I'm willing to tolerate other people more than others. And um it's a thing. I honestly don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, that's kind of what I think.
And I I don't think it's fair to judge yourself by your biases. All people have biases unless you're,
Hmm.
you know, you have reached enlightenment.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be honest, none of us here are enlightened. So we
Nope.
all got our biases.
Yes.
I'm enlightened, but not in the
I
way we're
don't
talking about.
I don't think you're enlightened.
I
I'm
mean,
learning new things about my brother.
That's fair. That's fair.
I am
Like,
being enlightened.
Um, Jeremy, do
yes.
you think that maybe how I should phrase this? Does that belief come from your religious upbringing?
It does and it doesn't. See, I didn't really pay attention to Christianity or like my um I never really paid attention to that till like I was 17,
Ugh.
18 and I grew up with it. Like I was probably in it since I was like 10, 9 years
Yeah.
old. Uh no, most of that came from my experiences with people.
Huh.
Just the way I would act upon others and just the way others would act upon me. That's how I really gained that um I don't want to say insight. See, like that was always happening. That kind of like those thoughts were always there of like, oh, this person is doing something mean to me. I'm going to do it to other people, or I'm going to not do it to other people. Like that was already always there. But then Christianity and religion really just streamlined that into a more um, almost like guidelines, because
Hmm.
then you can out or actually more like outlines. And
Okay.
it really outlined just like yes, people are evil, X Y because X Y and Z. Um, but there's also good, and there's X Y and Z to that, and we should always strive to do good. And that's yeah. Growing up and being an adult, you realize that unless you're living in a serious bubble, you learn that people are evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately, yeah, I think that is a, ultimately to me, that feels like a reasonable but kind of tragic understanding of the world. Like,
Well,
I get where you're coming from, that, like, you're right, people can be so shitty, but it feels like a shame to me that people have to be evil.
yeah, you know, I really don't like bringing this up, but this is a classic
Uh-huh.
conversation or classic example. But like, if you look at the way people treat each other in impoverished, or I mean, by first world standards, impoverished
Yeah.
uh, areas, you can see the way they treat each other is mostly evil, a little bit of good. You take Romania after their civil war. You got like people who are starving, people who are like dying and being bombed. I mean, you can take Ukraine right now, and there's this like war, and there's almost like this stupid ethnic war for no reason. Um, anyway, like you can just look at humanity in one photo and just understand that there is a majority of evil. Uh, and being in a first world country, we are on serious rails for not doing evil to one another. And I don't know if that's like societally we are brought to that. Actually, I do know that's what it is. Society tells us we shouldn't be evil towards each other, and for the most part, it's worked because you know you hear about some shooting and three people died, and they were in your town. You mourn them.
Hmm.
But if you look at impoverished areas, there are people who are in shallow graves who will never be remembered. Uh, and it's just, you know, there are offenses that are done to children in those areas. Like it's just, it's really, really sad. I don't mean to bring this podcast down.
It's okay. Don't apologize. You're good. We are here to learn about your perspective of life.
Hmm.
Well, see, this is a more selfish way I personally look at it. And I'm not Jeff Bezos. I'm not Bill Gates. I don't have a ton of money to spend on resources to making the world a better place. Uh,
Hmm.
in that, I should focus on myself and how I do good to other people.
Hmm.
That that is where real fulfillment comes in. You can't change what Joe Biden does. Can't change what Trump does. You can't change people. You can only change yourself. So to kind of wrap up and encompass like how I view humanity, poorly. How I view myself, trying, and that's what matters most. If we're
The
all
best.
trying, oh, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. It's you.
If we're all trying to do good, um, then we're all trying to do good. Like it is what it is by that standard, which is stupid and dumb. Bleh.
Ultimately, the best one can do is just to put the effort in,
Mhm.
and that's enough.
I mean, it's all you can do, unless
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
unless you can pull like that Stan Lee quote, Spider-Man, like with great power, or in this case, money.
Yes. Yeah, unless you're a Bill Gates, in which case you could be doing a little bit more.
With a lot of money comes great responsibility.
I guess I don't know. I'm not in the wheelhouse of telling people what to do with their money, and I will never take that chance or that stance, I should say. But yeah, so I don't
You
know. I
mentioned.
like yeah.
Go ahead. You like.
I I'd like to think I've done good by people for the at
Uh-huh.
least the past few months because I've learned a lot about myself. I just hope it keeps it that way. I don't want to be so downtrodden by societal or humanitarian problems that I lose my identity because I become so depressed and pessimistic with how humans want to behave. I'm 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 not exactly for any real outcome of somehow curbing that because that's just the way humanity is. There's no all world genocide. There's no, stopping world hunger.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any real solution that can be committed to that'll change anything. But anyway, yeah.
You mentioned your Christian upbringing.
Yes.
Did that religious upbringing affect you in any other ways than kind of like creating the outline for this belief system? Whether that's just like
Um,
you met cool people in church, or like you spent a lot
y-
of time there.
yeah. Kind of. It's weird because growing up, I became more and more depressed because of um responsibilities I wasn't taking up.
Mm.
And later in life, when I was 17, 18, 19, I was really seeking like a family outside of my own because my own was like falling apart.
Mm.
Hmm.
And I did get that through one family at church, the Ericksons. And uh, they have they have helped my opinion on humanity because they were such a wholesome family. And I know that like that kind of like a good thing is very fragile, but it really did a lot for my depression and really like made me feel loved and accepted. Not only for like my views, but I didn't I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to college, so having some form of validation from that family saying, "Yes, Jeremy, you are smart. Yes, Jeremy, you are capable." It was very nice, and it gave
Mm.
me a lot of hope and a lot of encouragement that I didn't find all that much in my biological family.
Mhm.
But it was certainly helpful to that view of humanity that yes, there are people out there that do good
Hmm.
and that have done right by me through church because I wouldn't have met them any other way. I can
It
guarantee that.
it means that that view never becomes people are innately bad and can only be bad, and makes it people are innately bad but can do good and can
Yes.
be beautiful.
Yes. And that should be cherished. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a very important piece.
Hmm. Yeah, they have influenced my life in so many ways and have given me um in some times in hard times I should say, they have given me the validation that I really needed to truly recognize that the things that I have forgotten about myself, and they will bring it up and say, "No, you have done this. You can do more." And they've always been encouraging. This isn't like because in my it's not like I have two families, so I should say like um which is weird. Yeah, in a way I kind of do. It's like my family outside my family. But anyway, like at home, I was always told, "You have done this much, Jeremy. It's good enough." And that didn't feel right. And in some ways, actually, in a lot of ways, it stunted my growth as like a person.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so when I finally came across a family that was not only loving and accepting, and encouraging, they said, "Look at all this stuff you've done. You can do better. You have the potential. Go out and do more because we know you can." That's what really like changed a lot of things for me the past like 3 4 years.
Hmm.
They really have like bounced me off of that plate and made me like, even though I talk to him like rarely, like maybe 3 times a month or something, like my conversation with uh Heidi and Wesley, like super good people. wonderful people that are struggling with their own problems, but at the same time, like they are so willing to give and to just let other people know the truth about themselves. And super encouraging, super loving people. I could talk for hours just on like one particular person in that entire family. But yeah,
They sound like amazing people.
very, very amazing people.
Well, I'd love to ask one final question.
Mhm.
A big theme, overarching theme on the podcast is the conversation of nature versus nurture. And with our talk about how people are innately bad but are trying to be good, do you think nature is more important or nurture is more important in a person's growth?
I think nurture,
Why is that?
because there will always be nature. Nurturing is what humanity needs as far as like um, teaching, tutelage, like creating better societies, creating relationships. Because people think like nature as far as like environment, kind of not. I don't mean like literal environment like jungle. I mean like the
Well,
way people interact
this
with
is
each
your
other.
perspective, Jeremy. This doesn't involve other people's perspective of what these
Okay,
two words mean.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Nurture, because people need to be taught that if they look around them, they will see all kinds of horrible things. But we always need somebody there to tell us that we can do good things, better things, that there is a light in the dark.
Oh,
Nurturing does that.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That though people may be evil and may be by nature bad, you can be better. And the way
Yes.
you do that is by trying.
Yes, and people need to be they need to be told that it's not like a want or a desire. Because you can desire to do good. There is always like a desire somewhere. Even if you're a horrible human being, there's a desire to like try to better either yourself, or that could come from a selfish place. But and I guess that depends on like your morality scale, but that's a different thing. But having somebody on the outset, somebody who isn't you, tell you that there is good within you, go and use it, because all you see around you is like it's just horrible. It's almost like humanity is almost like a firefly, and sometimes we glow in the dark, but there will always be the dark, and that's how I personally view it from a more poetic standpoint.
I love that. That's very beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come hop on with us.
Yeah, glad to be
I
here.
I truly learned things about you that I don't think I've ever heard just said outright, and
Yeah.
I could almost cry right now. Like it was very well talked about, and just who you are and how you think of people and how you've grown. And
Hmm.
I just love it, and it's
Yeah,
just
well,
awesome.
I'm glad to be here. I didn't really expect this podcast to go this way. I thought there'd be a little bit more funnies, and I
There's some
will.
funnies. We had some funnies.
Well, yeah, I know. Like, okay, I just want everybody to know that I'm not going through life like Edgar Allan Poe here. Like, I
You
do
got funny.
have,
You've got
I do.
funnies. You do
Right. It's just,
funnies.
yeah, the the conversation just went really dark, and yeah. Anyway, yeah, still glad to be here. Still glad to share what you might have not known about me, Shannon.
I'm glad I was able to talk with you about it.
Hmm.
Um, thank you to Nadia Diaz for our podcast cover art. I feel like all the housekeeping stuff is irrelevant at this moment, but I gotta do it. Yes, thank you to Nadia. She did our cover art. She's also done some side work for me concerning art. She made a character for D&D.
Oh, that's right. Nadia did that. Oh, yes. Yes, sorry. Yeah. She does really fantastic art.
She really does.
She really does.
And it's a shame, like, oh man. Anyway, I gotta find her on Instagram because like I've seen her stuff.
Jeremy, you're the perfect segue man right now because her Instagram is going to be linked in the description. It is at Arthead Creations, no spaces, no capitals. And then also thank you to Jensen Kral, who made our intro and outro for the podcast. I want to say I've been keeping up with him. He's in the UK right now, and it's very cool.
Thank you, Jensen.
Yeah, check out his song called "Knocking on Doors" for his musical Tea Time that he's working on. You can find that on all sorts of places. You can find it even on here on Spotify, which is where I mainly go to. But you can also go to iTunes, Amazon Music, all sorts of places. And then send Malcolm and I some questions. Send it to our email. Ask questions, maybe either personal to you or you just want to hear other guests talk about, and it'll be a lot of fun. I think I've got one more. I'm coming back to YouTube. Go check it out. It's just fun gaming videos. Malcolm's in a couple of them.
I am in a couple of them.
And so you can hear us be a little more funnies and a little less interviewee. But thank you to everybody. We will see you next time. Ounlisjed.
Ounlisjed.